Welcome to the C-Suite podcast. My name is Russell Goldsmith, and I am thrilled to introduce this special episode of the show that was recorded at Consensus in Miami. Now, Consensus is the longest running and most influential conference for digital assets, reshaping the future of finance. Once again, we were collaborating with Sumsub and their own What the Fraud podcast, and that meant that Anastasia, Sumsub's sales director, took on the hosting duties, interviewing a number of the speakers and attendees at the event. Really hope you enjoy these conversations.
Alongside financial infrastructure, another shift is happening, one driven by AI. We're moving from systems that assist users to systems that can act on their behalf, making decisions, executing transactions, and interacting with financial networks autonomously. That shift brings opportunity, but also entirely new risks. With me today is Lei Lei, VP and Global Head of Business Development and Strategy at Kite AI. Lei Lei, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm incredibly excited to be on the podcast.
How is Miami? How is Consensus?
Yeah. Oh, it's a lot of fun, great turnout. Yeah, even 9 o'clock at the beginning of the conference, there's a huge crowd. So you know that, payments and tokenization, huge topics here.
Great. I want to start with just, talking about intersection of AI and blockchain. For someone outside of this space, what problem are you guys actually trying to solve there?
Yeah, absolutely. So, AI is everywhere and it's hugely powerful. Tons of people use ChatGPT every day, Claude. It can do a lot of research, reasoning, and make your, day-to-day tasks hugely easier, increase your productivity. But I think what people haven't really realized is there is a lot of execution capability, and one of the big roadblocks is that for an agent to really actually execute, finish a transaction, buy things for you, there needs to be a lot of guardrails in place for you to trust it with your actual, wallet or money, so that's coming. That's what we're really excited about and why we're building at the intersection of AI and blockchain. And we basically launched a vertically integrated, product, which essentially brings a lot of that trust and guardrails into a product we call Kite Agent Passport, which allows you to spend within limits. You as a human set how much you want to spend if you want to purchase something on one of the major e-commerce sites, and how long you have to do that. And you can always hit the kill switch if it's not what you wanted. So, I think having that trust embedded at the infrastructure level is something that we think about every single day, and is hugely important for us to really be able to scale.
I'm glad that you touched this topic, about AI agents and that they act or can act on our behalf, which again sounds futuristic, but what's actually happening right now today that most people haven't really noticed.
Yeah. So, X402, which is one of the major protocols, there's actually 100 million transactions happening already. And if you look at, agentic commerce, agentic payments, back in 2024, there's about 20 different companies building in that space. And fast forward 2 years later, there's over 500 companies in the space. So you've 20x'd in 2 years. And some of the major players out there, whether it's Google or Stripe, Coinbase, they've all been very focused, PayPal as well, payments infrastructure, as well as a lot of the major merchants out there, Amazon, Shopify, they're actively, looking at how do they think about their business with, consumers as well as essentially having agents execute and buy a lot of their products through a different user experience, but in a trusted format. And how do we rethink a lot of our own, shopping as well as even like trading investment experience? So it's definitely happening. And also, recently there was this news that OpenAI and Anthropic have formed major partnerships with major private equity firms. And I think the key part there is that there's thousands of portfolio companies and private equity firms. And so these major, LLMs are essentially have a great testing ground for, user data, like across different industries, so whether it's healthcare, whether it's finance, fintech. And I think that's really the key part to think about, how do we really unlock something that's enterprise ready, as well as, something that you can trust for your day-to-day consumers like you and me.
Yeah.
That I can go on to these platforms, I can go on to, Claude or other places and actually complete a lot of the normal things that I do every day.
But, with all of this kind of conversation around AI and blockchain together, you mentioned a few companies that, again, have partnerships. What's actually the part of that conversation that frustrates you? Yeah.
That's a great question. I think that we can think about trust, compliance, security after the fact. And that has to be something that's brought in day one. In a lot of companies, I often hear like, oh, let's get adoption, let's get users, and then let's think about like KYC. Let's then think about how do I reverse those transactions, or how do I keep, hold people accountable. So that's really frustrating to me. And I think that that's another thing we're thinking day one, why we're building for the infrastructure level. And thinking about that in terms of, how do we build things for machine speed? How do we account for like a lot of agent transactions are currently, API calls or agents doing research, which could be cents on the dollar. And that's difficult using some of the traditional rails and checkout, which might cost 3%, for example. And so, I really think it's about like thinking day one for this different type of world that's coming.
And the world that you're describing, right, with a lot of like, autonomous operation of those AI agents. Let's say at some point something does go wrong in a way that nobody saw coming. Who do you think is or will be responsible for this when it does?
Yeah, great question. So, we are in the early stages. It's a nascent part of the industry. And there's a lot of, key hurdles to get over. And, agents, they can, perform transactions, but ultimately it's a human. It's the company that's going to be liable for decisions or when things might go wrong. And if I buy something, who do I return it to? How do I have disputes? What happens if it isn't what I wanted? That's all about the consumer user experience. So I think that, again, it goes back to trust. It goes back to the user experience. It has to be better than my current way of shopping or investing. It has to bring a lot of extra value to me. And I have to be sure that I can get my money back if things, don't go as planned. And so that's why I think, there's a lot of really smart brains thinking about this and how to really unlock that for, your regular day-to-day society.
Yeah, I guess as, coming to the last question.
Yeah.
Because we focus on fraud, obviously, on this podcast.
Yeah.
Where do you see the biggest potential for misuse as AI and blockchain start to work together?
Yeah, so I mean, you guys have probably seen it. There's been a lot of hacks in the blockchain industry, and that's the area that we're concerned about as well. I think security, the AI world has made it easier. There's a really great paper published by A16Z talking about doing some experiments where they basically have an agent look at what are the vulnerabilities in your system and how do I get around that? And of course, your LLM won't tell you how to exploit. They're not allowed to do that, but there's obviously a lot of information that you can get from there. So security is top of mind for us. We work with a lot of external third parties, our security officers, like living and breathing and thinking through all of these, potential things. And, Claude also has some new launches like Cloud Security, which helps as well. I think this is a really, really important part. And I think security is going to be huge in the AI world. And I definitely encourage all security companies traditional security companies to look into this area. And I think that's one of the building blocks to really get to that next level of trust and scale. And the e-commerce is projected to be like a $1 trillion market in the next 5 years, and to really capitalize on that, I think we need to set our foundation well.
Well, thank you very much, Lei Lei, for your time. Enjoyed this conversation, and hopefully we can together build a more secure AI future world. Thank you. Enjoy Consensus. Enjoy Miami.
Okay, thanks so much.